We have a powerful lunar eclipse on October 28th. It is a cosmic trigger that can bring you unexpected situations, events. Eclipses can stir up deep emotions and even hidden conflicts. They are absolutely game changers and can bring things into fruition as well. They do create deep transformation and really are about spiritual growth and healing and transformation to help us to start something new. In this video, I will share with you the 7 secrets to having a very successful lunar eclipse on October 28th, 2023. If you're feeling that internal pressure, maybe you're feeling anxious, maybe you have some anxiety, maybe some excitement or disappointment, and even happening all at the same time, I've got you. Hi, I'm Prema. Welcome to Chart Your Path. I am so glad that you're here. And hang on to the end of the video and I'll share all the remedies so you get the most out of it. So it's a partial lunar eclipse. It's not a full lunar eclipse, so it doesn't have that strength and power, but it is the end of a cycle. It is the last lunar eclipse, the last eclipse in the eclipse pattern that we've been having in Vedic astrology in Aries and Libra. This one is at 11 degrees of Aries in Vedic astrology. Yes, the sidereal zodiac. And it's in the deeply healing nakshatra of Ashwini. And with this last eclipse, for the pattern that's been happening over the last year and a half, we'll be entering a new cycle of growth starting at the end of November, and it'll bring on a whole new set of challenges and changes and transformation. I know change is not always easy, but at the same time, it is what brings about the things that are new and different, and then can bring about the letting go and detachment of things that are no longer serving us anymore. So let's talk about what a lunar eclipse actually is. It's when the sun and the moon are opposite of one another. That's the great leader and the great nurturer in the Sacred Wealth Code Archetype system. And when they are opposite, and with a lunar eclipse, of course, the moon is with the nodes of the moon, and it happens to be with the magician, Rahu. And an opposite of that is Ketu. Ketu is with the sun, the great mystic. And when those nodes of the moon align, it's the nodes of the moon, along with the sun and the moon, and the earth. They all align, and then the earth casts a shadow on the moon. And the thing about this is that the sun is the soul in Vedic astrology, and the moon represents our consciousness. It's also the divine feminine and deep emotions and more than that. But the nodes of the moon are the only thing that have the ability to block that for a moment. So it's a stormy period of time. We don't see things necessarily really clearly during that time, but also deep transformation happens while this is going on. So this can be seen in Africa, Europe, and Asia. And there's a big planetary lineup with this eclipse as well, because we have Uranus and Jupiter both in Aries. We also have with Rahu and the moon, and we also have Mars and Mercury with Ketu in Libra. I'll talk about the transits and how they affect this eclipse in a little bit in this video. Aries and Libra axis is where this is affecting. Now, if you have planets there, it becomes even stronger for you, although it affects us all in some way. Aries, our independence, our identity at some level, our deep confidence, and the ability to sort of be pioneering and birth new things. The shadow that is cast here, it doesn't allow us to see things very clearly during this time. And also there's a combustible nature because Mars is opposite this eclipse. So some of the lessons we've been going through is our identity, our personal freedom versus who we are in relationships, our willingness to compromise, to have those relationships, whether we're the people pleaser anymore, or we've all been taking a really close look at our energetic exchange in relationships and hopefully making some adjustments to that. So your independence, this is really being affected by this eclipse and by this whole eclipse pattern. So notice, how has your confidence shifted? How has your independence shifted, or your identity of who you actually are. We need a good self-identity, and we need to be in relationship with others as well. So this eclipse is really sort of bringing a culmination to reinventing ourselves so that we can move forward with more of who we truly are, and also with the things that we want to birth in the world that takes courage and takes confidence. And when we don't have that courage and we don't have the confidence, we tend to feel stuck. We tend to be looking outside of ourselves for information and getting distracted, and we don't tend to birth that, the soul purpose that is coming through us and our creative ideas. The redefinition of ourself also means that we are maybe looking at our past to see where we've come from, who we've been, and who we no longer want to be. And who is it that we want to be now going forward, but not defining ourselves by our past. There is an opportunity for real reclamation and self-healing during this time, and especially because of the nakshatra that this full moon lunar eclipse is happening in. But the revitalization, the reinvention is from the inside out, so that you're on your soul path, connected uniquely to your purpose, to your soul blueprint. And that's not the same as everybody else around you. Now, Rahu, the north node of the moon, pushes us to do things differently. It is a game changer. It is a cosmic trigger, and it pulls us more out into the world. It also brings in opportunities for us. We just have to be aware of whether those opportunities are truly ours or not. I've had many clients have things falling away during this time, along with myself and some of my identity, and have new things and new opportunities come in. Some of them haven't landed yet, and you might be experiencing this, like, oh, there's a maybe here, and that would be really cool if that happened, and I'm not sure if I really want to let this go. The more we can become detached, the more we can just let what needs to fall away, and the more we can just stay with sort of stay with the flow, keep our sea legs on for the new opportunities coming in, not trying to get attached to them too quickly, to let them fully come in, because they are going to land in an unexpected way. That's the way eclipses work. So this changes our direction, it changes our timelines, it opens doors, it closes doors, and we want to be open to that process and not necessarily be making really important decisions during this time. We want to get into the days after the eclipse, and preferably if you could wait till the beginning of November. You will have to make some changes, you will have to make some decisions during this time, and that's fine, but you want to be present enough to make those and not be in that gray zone of should I, shouldn't I. If it's not a big yes, something I really live by, if it's not a big yes, just let it be a no for now. It can turn into a yes, but you need to have enough of the affirmative information to actually make it a yes. Now, I will talk about the transits a little bit later in this update that are affecting this eclipse and also affecting you because they're in this turbulent time. We have a lot of instability during this time. But Jupiter is retrograde next to the moon during this eclipse. You can see it in the heavens. So I encourage you to, if you have a clear sky, and I'm grateful we're in Seattle and that we actually are going to have a clear sky on the eclipse, and that you can see just that day and the days around it, you're going to be able to see this beautiful retrograde Jupiter because it's stationing. And so it's very, very strong. It's far away from the sun. And Jupiter is our great teacher. It's our great sage. And Jupiter brings a lot of grace. It's represented by Ganesha, and it brings a lot of grace to wherever it is. It's been a little bit clouded because it's been with the eclipse pattern, and that's going to shift out pretty soon. So it's in Ashwini. Ashwini is 11 degrees to 0 degrees of Aries. And the north node of the moon is actually at about 0 degrees. It's just about to transition, and I do follow the true placement of the nodes. It's almost going to transition. This will happen at the end of November into Pisces, very transformational. I'll talk about that. I'll make videos about that. But where it is now, the moon is going to be at 11 degrees. So that's why it's a partial eclipse. Those nodes in the moon aren't completely lined up. Ashwini is represented by the Kumars, their horses. There's two horses, twin horses, and it brings this fast, enthusiastic sort of movement type energy to this part of the zodiac. It's also, the Ashwinis are known as the physicians of the gods and goddesses. This is a very deeply healing nakshatra placement where the moon is and the eclipse is happening. They're known as the mystical doctors, and they bring their healing down to earth. And this gives us the power to really heal quickly, and we'll have completion to some of the most complicated matters. And this can bring in deep physical healing as well, and it brings it in very quickly. This is a very auspicious time. We'll be working with this in the full moon healing circle this month, and I encourage you very much so to join me. It's physical, it's emotional healing. It can really illuminate our blocks and bring in that mental and deep spiritual healing as well. But it can be very emotionally intense. So you want to give yourself some space on the lunar eclipse and the days, just, the couple days around it, because other people's energy, you don't know how this is hitting everyone else. When you are susceptible to everybody else's emotions, and I know that a lot of you listening in are empaths, then, you can take on those emotions, and I encourage you to be very careful of that. You'll have enough to deal with your own emotions. Rahu is in Gandanta, as I mentioned. It's at 0 degrees. Rahu, again, is the magician, the north node of the moon. In this Gandanta position, it's known to sort of untie karmic knots. It is a little unnerving. It kind of represents the energy of drowning. We're in a place where one nakshatra ends at the end of a sign, at the end of Aries, and another nakshatra, Revate, begins at really at the end of Pisces. You see, the nodes of the moon, they go against the grain. They move in opposition to the planets. The planets move clockwise, and the nodes of the moon move counterclockwise. They walk to the beat of their own drummer, by all means. So you'll have to really lean into your deep faith and into your true spirituality during this time, because you'll be sensing things, information will come in on different levels that you may not be able to see with your eyes. And this is important to be able to trust yourself and be able to trust your intuition and trust what's coming up for you, because you can have some really deep downloads during this time. Some of the wisdom questions to reflect on is, how have you grown over the last 18 months? And you can feel free to pause this video and work with these questions, or come back to it later and really journal about them. And what were you struggling with? What were you struggling with a year and a half ago? So this eclipse pattern started in April of 2022. And so what were the issues coming up for you then? Were you doing a shift in your career? How were your relationships during that time? Were you working at stepping out with your confidence, or was your confidence threatened in some kind of way? Were you trying to start something new? And where have you gone with that? And what are the fears that have come up? So these are things you're going to want to look at. Also, what was going on for you back in 2004, 2005, like end of 2004, 2005, because this is the end of an 18-year cycle as well. So this is the end of the last time that the nodes of the moon were in this placement was almost 18 and a half years ago. So also look at what was going on for you then. There was a relationship stuff going on for me back then. In fact, I got divorced during that time from the same man I'm married to now. Culmination is that, at this point in time, my family is expanding. We've had a grandbaby. I'm happily married, I'm living in my dream home, life is beautiful, life is good. Of course it has challenges, and we were also called to grow our relationship more over the last 18 months. What's been going on for you personally, or, excuse me, 18 years, but and also in the last 18 months. So to reflecting back, looking over your shoulder is really good to see how far you've grown. What is still up for healing around those issues? So those are some of the things that's going to be useful to contemplate with this eclipse pattern. So this can really bring things into completion and bump you into the next level of your personal and your spiritual evolution. These are soul triggers. Your soul is working with you to get you on your soul path. We're never really off our path, but sometimes we're in the weeds on the side of the road and it gets real bumpy over there. And sometimes we have to sort of hit something on the side to kind of give us a wake-up call so we get back well centered on our path. Closure is a very important part of new beginnings. Sometimes doors have to close in order for new ones to open. So whatever is closing out for you, whether it's an identity that you've had that you realize that's not really who I am anymore, or whether it is a relationship. There's a lot of relationships that have been challenged this year and that have been shifting out. Or whether it is, a business, or you're changing what you're doing, whatever it is. Really embrace that. You can also really contemplate, so now who am I? And who am I becoming? We're always becoming something, and hopefully it's more of who we truly are and coming back to our wholeness. Working with this full moon, which we will be doing in the healing circle, remember that Aries is very impulsive, and with Rahu there's a very pushy, urgent kind of energy. You might feel like, oh, I have to do this, or you might be stressed out because maybe there's a timeline on something that you feel like you have to do. Are you imposing the timeline, or is it something outside of you imposing the timeline? If you have that urgency and that pushiness going on, I encourage you to let this transit pass unless you absolutely have to make the decision. And we're only talking a few days. Let it pass. Let that urgency relax so that you can make a true decision from your heart. We'll see things better in the days after the eclipse. So when you feel this energy, you can feel it in your mind, you can feel it in your body. You can feel anxiety, you could feel tired. This could just make you tired, make you depressed, it can make you overwhelmed, it could make you excited about you don't even know what. So whatever's going on, the emotions are ramped up. Just understand that they may not be a true indicator of actually what's going on. So breathe through this time, okay? It's a great time for reflection, as I mentioned, to see how far that you have come during this time and what's the gap that you still want to close. Is there another place you want to take your work in the world? Is there, is it still, there's something in a relationship where you need to close that gap, or anywhere in between. But don't make irrational decisions, okay, based on urgency. It's really important to pay attention to that. Take the time for the spiritual reflection. Take the time to get quiet and let the decisions come from the inside out. Then your soul is absolutely leading you. Because it is a shifting floor, you may not have all the information, and as things shift, and if you stay fluid with it, then, and not attached, then you'll let arise for you really what is for you and what is the next steps for you. So how do you know when you're really being hit by that pushy energy? You've got FOMO. You just have fear of missing out, okay? So just watch that, okay? And when I say watch it, I have some real strict rules for myself when it comes to that. Like if I feel that urgency, whether it's to respond to somebody, be it voice, text, whatever, or whether I feel like I'm being pushed to make a decision on something that is time bound, but I don't feel like I have the right information, or I don't feel like I have a big yes, and then I just don't make the choice. I don't make it yet, or if it's really time bound and I have to make it, I sit, I get really quiet, and I have a couple processes that I have, and I share with all of my clients on how that we tune into what's the best thing. So whatever you're feeling limited, as far as personally or money wise or career wise or whatever, this eclipse is moving you towards closure if you're feeling limited, which is really liberation. It's sovereignty. We have to heal to move past our limits so you can be more of who you truly are. We get attached, that's fine, but there are times when we need to become unattached so we can open up to a higher path for ourselves and what's new. Your soul work is not always easy, but it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. So if you're really struggling, you really need to spend the time to dig in or get some support so you can clear what is in the way. You're going to want to drink lots of water during this time. That helps to, wash our bodies out and helps, our bodies are made of so much water. And it also helps to ground you. Grounding is incredibly important. Get your feet on the earth. Get in water, actually, showers, baths, swimming if you have a hot tub, whatever works for you. But water can be incredibly grounding. Being in nature, walking, exercising your body, doing yoga, but sweating, whatever your exercise is, can be very grounding. We need to be embodied during this time so we don't get all lost in the mind. It's a powerful time to do breath work. And in fact, especially where this is happening in the nakshatra of Ashwini, really supports us to amplify our prana with breath work. Very simple, deep inhalations, deep exhalations. You can do the box breathing. That's where you breathe in for 4 counts, you hold it for 4 counts, you breathe out for 4 counts, you hold it out for 4 counts. And that always helps to quiet down the nervous system. Any kind of pranayama, super useful during this time. And be mindful of who you're spending time with. You want to practice your spiritual protection and your emotional, energetic protection. And so, first of all, being mindful of how you are, what energy are you putting out? And what energy are you letting in? Be very mindful about that and make really conscious choices on the day before, day of, and the day of eclipse where you're spending your time. Spend more time inward than you are spending with a lot of people. And I would say traveling as well. Now, if you are traveling during this time, this could be a tricky time for traveling. So give yourself more time, just time and space takes pressure off. Whenever you are crunched on time, this is when we get more pressure, when things are time bound. Okay, so be careful of that. So give yourself more time if possible, and just stay present. And if things happen, understand it's an adventure. Go with the flow of things and don't push. If I have something wrong with a flight I'm getting on, I'm like, cool. I don't want to get on that flight. Just be open, okay? So give yourself more time if you can do that. I invite you to come to the full moon healing circle. This is an incredibly potent time. This is really to get out of your own way, to help bring completion to things. We do sound healing. I do energetic healing of lots of different ways. We're going to move through all the chakra system. We'll be giving you a deeper update on how this is all hitting you a little bit more specifically. We'll have soul wisdom questions, but this is a very deep, potent time for healing and for closing out the last cycle and opening up to what's next. I would so love for you to join me. The link is down below in the description, in the comments, anywhere that you're seeing this. It's important to know what's the next step to take to trust yourself, to clear what's keeping you from trusting yourself. For each step you take, opens up a new set of choices. And a lot of times we're only given the next step, but if we're willing to do that through inspired action, it'll open up the next set of choices. The mind wants it all to be very predictable and gets very attached, and that will not serve you to create something new, and that will not serve you during this period of time because it's all about something new. There are a lot of planets with the Libra Aries axis, and it's really pushing us in a lot of different directions, aside from everything that I've talked about. So Mars rules Aries, and it wants what it wants, preferably yesterday. Mars is been with the eclipse pattern here for almost 6 weeks or so, and will not move out until almost mid-November. Mars is causing a lot of volatility here. And again, this is the honorable warrior in the Sacred Wealth Code system. And we've seen a lot of volatility in the world. Things are very explodable. It's with K2, the mystic, in the south node of the moon. So it's been hard on relationships. Understand that it's really a time to be devoted to spiritual practice, to be very, very disciplined with spiritual practice is the way to manage Mars. Mars wants to be productive. Give yourself something good to do. Exercise burns off the steam there, and that can be helpful, but avoid volatility at all costs. Also, you're going to want to take really good care of your immune system. Herbs, essential oils, rest is one of the best things. And also, Mercury is aligned here as well, and Mercury is our great communicator. It's also our merchant, and it has been very heated up. It'll move in the beginning of November. It'll move over into Scorpio. I'll talk about that in the November update, but it's been affecting technology, travel. You need to be patient. It's, again, with the mystic, and it is bringing up some of those stories from the past. Hasn't been really good for communication, and that's tough on relationships. We've got to breathe. We've got to take a moment and respond before we react. We are being asked to let go on a lot of levels, even though there could be other stuff coming in as well. So we've got both ends of this really working with this. On a great note, we have Jupiter, as I mentioned, our great sage and teacher. We have with the eclipse pattern over in Aries. It has been there since this past April of 2023 and really hasn't got to work its full magic yet. And it will once we get the eclipse pattern moving at the end of November out of Aries. But just getting past this eclipse is going to help tremendously. But Jupiter always brings grace, always brings grace. And there's enough space between Jupiter and Rahu now to feel some of the blessings from Jupiter, some of the light that Jupiter brings. So let's lean into that grace as well. And that's where some of the new opportunities are coming in. Now, Uranus is going to bring on things even more quickly and more unexpectedly than just Rahu, the north node of the moon, because that's what Uranus does. It is a great disruptor, and it really shifts things quickly, and it is also in Aries, so it's tied up with this eclipse pattern. Venus, our great connector, our connector here, is also with opposite Saturn, who's about to go direct in Aquarius, and Venus is over in Leo, but there's an opposition there, so it brings kind of a serious tone to our relationships. We might be finding we're making some final decisions in relationships and such. So be easy. The relationships have been under a lot of stress, over the last 6 months. Be easy with things. Take them slow. Breathe. If things are falling away, do it gracefully. If new things are coming in, no big firm commitments right now. Take your time with things. The energies are extreme, so balance is not easy. Balance is constant unified movement. Where do I need to ground more? Where do I need to spend some time more inwardly? Where do I need to have better boundaries? We're purifying our identity, so be careful of being affected by other people's judgment. Not a time to be asking everybody what they think, okay? And they may be telling you and you don't want to hear it, but that's boundaries. You're birthing a new you, and whatever Aries represents for you personally. It's the 1-7 axis generally for all of us, but for you, it is something in particular. I am also just finishing up my eclipse reading special. And if you want to get an eclipse reading with all the transits talking about this eclipse pattern that's happening now and the one we're going into, link is down below or anywhere you're finding this. This special will be wrapping up here just after the weekend. Take advantage of that half-price reading, and I'd love to get into your chart with you and help you to navigate all of this and the eclipse pattern that's coming up as well. Expect the cosmic triggers to shift you. The more you surrender, the more you'll see magic on your side. Okay? So again, drink lots of water, ground, chanting, and mantra. I hadn't mentioned that yet. So important. Doing your inner work, clearing meditating. We'll be doing lots of clearing in the full moon healing circle. Keep your day simple. Keep your time simple. Breath work. Be generous and tolerant with others, because everybody's a little bit off kilter during this time. You're reinventing yourself so you can move forward in a new and different way. I am so grateful that you are here with me. Thank you so much. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I so appreciate it. It just helps get the word out to more people. I'm excited to bring you more. I'm creating some new and special videos for you. So if there's anything you want to hear about, put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you're wanting from me. And I'd love to have you join me for the full moon healing circle. Take advantage of the eclipse reading special. All the links are down below. And if you want to know what your Vedic chart is, you can get my free guide and the free chart calculator. Link is down below for that, as well as the free Sacred Wealth Code quiz. So lots of resources for you. I appreciate you so much for being here. There's some more videos for you to watch. The end screen will show you that. And I am so grateful for you being part of the community. So much love.